Welcome, Pisces. Hi, this one's for you. Sorry things are a bit late. This is Tarot Lumination with your love and relationship report for you, Pisces, for November 2017. Okay, so cards are already well shuffled in advance. I'm just going to go to the last second. I'm going to use what I call a crucible spread. It's on the understanding that there's you, there's a significant other, and there's the relationship itself, and the relationship has its own dynamic and its own energy. And it's in a healthy relationship, we conduct ourselves through the relationship. All right, so do the routine, watch for your sun, moon, and rising and all that. And reinterpret, of course, make the best of it for yourself, okay? It's your reading for you, Pisces, okay? It's not a couple's reading, okay? So here we go. Sorry, no jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. We just keep it very, very simple here. All right. Cutting. Here we go. Let's see what we've got. Wow, that was an extreme cut, I have to tell you. All right. So this would be you, Pisces. This would be a significant other, a chosen one, a chosen relationship. This would be going deep into you, deep into the other, and this would be the nature of the relationship itself. As you can see, I'm trying to create the shape of a crucible here. A crucible is a very sturdy container that can withstand intense pressures that can occur in relationship. Healthy crucible gives you a better chance of a healthy, stable relationship. Here's the momentum, okay? We're going to look at the weather here. Okay, you've got the Ten of Pentacles. So right now, Pisces, for one reason or another, it looks like you're in a situation where, like, intangible ways and intangible ways, and in intangible ways, you've kind of got all the raw ingredients necessary to make the best of this particular time period we call November. That could be in terms of just the time available for relationship, to the space, to the location, to being with the right people at the right time at the right place, especially a significant other. Okay, so like anybody, make the best of this. This is the Ten of Pentacles. It's very supportive kind of energy. It's an indication of legacy wealth, a long-term approach, something that can be shared above and beyond yourself and the other, perhaps to the wider community. Let's have a look at your energy here, okay? So Pisces, with the Page of Cups here, to me it feels as your reader that this is basically sweet and innocent coming in to November. Basically sweet and innocent, understanding that you have all the best of intentions, the best wishes, but also that there's probably a lot to learn, and that might happen for you, in the context of a relationship, because Jupiter is in Scorpio right now, and that's happening up in your ninth house, about like wisdom and higher knowledge and higher consciousness. So you might feel that kind of energy going through your relationship dynamics right now, where you realize like there's an awful lot more going on than I ever realized, and maybe it's really important to pay attention and realize how fortunate we are to have each other as people. Even if there might be some challenges in the context of a relationship, it's very important to understand we all have that, and that our challenges can be our learning opportunities and our growth opportunities, okay? So let's have a look over here. Let's have a look at the other. We have the Ten of Swords. So you might be relating, like Pisces, sometimes you guys can be very, let's say, sacrificial, or very self-sacrificing, to the point where it's very easy for you to attract people who can be wounded, suffering, either deep and long term, or just like passing through. And with the Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Swords here, this could indicate a person who's basically reached a breaking point where they can't go any further with how bad things are for them in their own way. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's with you, okay? This is your energy. This is their energy. We'll learn more as we go deeper inside. So Pisces, it might be an indication like a wake up, like, wow, I've I'm actually relating to someone who's actually deeply pained, deeply wounded inside, and perhaps ways that had not been too obvious before, had not been revealed, but it might be revealed during this time period, especially with Jupiter and Scorpio, bringing higher consciousness and higher awareness into your life, into your world, uh, so that you might like have a broader perspective of your chosen one, and they might be revealing this to you, and you might be becoming aware of this in them. And this is the whole idea that they might have a lot of buried issues that have now essentially come to the surface, kind of in an obvious way, that where there's nowhere left to go. And it could be that they have a beef with you. It could be an unresolved long-term kind of beef. It could be something that has been simmering or has been buried for a long time and is coming to the surface. If you want to look at it that way, Pisces, that could be a good thing, because if there are a lot of issues that have been buried under the surface for a long time and they have now become apparent, and you're with a significant other who is saying enough is enough is enough, we need to mature here, we need to grow up and understand what we really have, then that's a good sign. So there's no reason for you, Pisces, to be scared or intimidated by the Ten of Swords here and another. This could be actually very good in regards to that kind of tarot illumination theme about having to reveal it to heal it. So if this energy is coming to the surface from a significant other, then this could be a tremendous opportunity for healing, either with them or with yourself and the other in the relationship, or with the relationship itself. Let's have a look. Because with the Ten of Swords, there's also an indication that it's the end of this. It can't get any worse, so all we can do is get better from here. You've reached rock bottom. Well, not you, Pisces. I'm saying they've reached rock bottom. And so that could turn things around in the context of a relationship. Let's have a look deeper inside of you, Pisces. Okay, so maybe you're feeling this in the heart. Maybe you haven't got a very clearly defined way of, let's say, communicating about this, uh, or integrating it into your own being in a way that kind of makes any sense or logic to you. You might just simply be feeling it, just like an animal, a soft, loving animal would pick up the energy from its mate. Like if you're just being your regular Pisces self here, but you're realizing that you're relating with the chosen one who's actually deeply pained and who's over it. They're sick of it. They want to be done with it, but it's still there. It's very evident, and it's time to move on. You might be feeling it in your normal Piscean, very, very sensitive way. But over here with the other, it might be that they are more, let's say, expressive or open with it. And that could, kind of have a little bit of a backlash on you, Pisces, to the point where you might, being naturally typically very, very sensitive, it might make you feel as though, like, what did I do wrong? Uh, doesn't anybody get me? Doesn't anybody understand me? Doesn't anybody appreciate me? Where's the value here? Where is the love here? Because there's obviously love, but it feels like it's kind of innocent, a little bit at a time period where the energy of innocence and immaturity is being exposed. But that's a good thing, because then you can do something with that once you become aware of it. Because with the Four of Cups here, my feeling for you, Pisces, is that it's good to become aware of this, to start to feel it inside, even if it's not what most people would think of as a happy card. It's more of a woe is me card, like, maybe if only I'd done this, or maybe if only done that, if we only did this, and oh, woe is me, where you might be taking on the cause of their pain and misery and suffering, which might be their own problem, nothing to do with you, even though you might have a very deeply committed, loving relationship. We are individuals, and we do have our own heritage, our own life, our own individualities, despite being in a relationship. So if you're taking it upon yourself in that very Neptunian way of Pisces, where you absorb it all, you absorb the other's pain, and almost in the nature of being a martyr or something like that, then you could feel it this way. In other words, you could be feeling their pain as though it's your own, and then you take on the responsibility for their pain and suffering as though it's your own. And you're actually doing yourself a bit of an injustice here. You understand, with the Four of Cups, it's a strong image from my perspective as your reader that It's a wake-up call where we understand that energy flows where attention goes. And if all your attention is focused on like the things that are apparent right now, like perhaps it's very apparent that they've got issues and that there's suffering going on, or they've reached a certain limit in themselves or in the context of a relationship, either with you or just simply on their own, but you're the one who's feeling it over here deep inside of you, almost like a wounded animal, as though you're the one who's wounded, where it's actually their wounding. And so you start to get very blurry lines between self and other, okay, which can be actually very precarious in the context of a healthy relationship. Because in a healthy relationship, both parties would conduct themselves through the crucible in a way that you might say, hey, honey, what's going on? And they might say, well, actually, I've got some serious issues. Maybe we should talk about it. But it seems to me as though this is happening more on the intuitive plane, where it's like what we just described earlier, where you might be almost feeling like a sponge or a little bit of a pincushion yourself, taking in their pain and suffering. Okay, so let's see where this goes. Now, also remember here with the little Four of Cups that you do always have the option to refocus your attention on what actually works, which is love. It's always love. The answer is always love, which would be over here, contained in the little symbolism of this miniature tiny Ace of Cups, which is always about the whole idea that love is out there for you all the time anyway, regardless of whether you're aware of it or not. It's right there. You're swimming in love. You're always, we're made of love. And it's just a question of understanding that and appreciating it and seeing the true value of your surroundings, trying to see perhaps the good side of the relationship, the value of the relationship, the values inside the relationship, your worth to yourself, your worth to the other, and the worth of the relationship to yourselves and each other. Okay, but it might be here that you're missing the point because you're so sensitized to their issues, which leaves you vulnerable, which takes your attention away from what really counts, which would be the Ace of Cups, and instead leaves you still, let's say, mired in a little bit of suffering in the heart energy here, simply because of lack of understanding about how like the mechanics of a relationship would work, in terms of you know the mechanisms of relationship. So in other words, some of your own a little bit of naivety and innocence would be getting exposed here, but that might be perhaps a good thing because maybe it's time to learn how to maintain your differentiation, maintain your individuality, and allow them to be themselves, maintain your integrity as another, because then you become more valuable to yourselves and each other. Okay, let's have a look deeper inside the other. Okay, well, for you, Pisces, you might be feeling the relationship in this way. But for them, deep down inside, they might be going through some kind of cataclysmic changes that are almost overwhelming for them. And they're not handling it very well. We don't necessarily know what that is. Maybe they're keeping it to themselves. This is probably, it's such a different energy from your energy over here. But you might be apparent, it might be apparent to you that there's something going on with a significant other that is very almost shocking, okay, in one way or another, and it is coming to the surface. It's starting to bubble to the surface right now, but it's still actually happening deep inside of them. In other words, getting these like, earthquake or volcanic type eruptions where the other party, your chosen one, Pisces, is having a bit of this very kind of disruptive experience in their lives where they might be feeling as though they're falling apart. They might be hiding it, they might be keeping it to themselves, or it might be very apparent. But either way, there's a sensation of like instability and how they might feel that their whole life is changing around them in ways that they don't have any control, which can be a bit frightening for some people. It doesn't have to be. At Tarot Lumination, we like to think of the Tower as one of the most powerful healing cards in the deck because it's almost like the universe comes in and says, enough is enough. We're just going to blast away and blow away everything that is no longer relevant to you and your life and your world. And we're just going to burn it all down and we're going to start from scratch again with new foundations. And that's just how it's going to be. Because sometimes as human beings, we don't have the full capacity to handle our own evolution day by day, decision by decision, choice by choice, and we always put off the really tough ones in just hopes that they'll figure themselves out. But if you keep stuffing not you Pisces, but if you're with a significant other who's been stuffing away a lot of issues and pains and sufferings and challenges that should have been dealt with normally in a healthy relationship, one step at a time, one issue at a time, fix it and heal it as you go along. It's just like doing maintenance on a car. So instead of you driving the car till you run out of oil, you run out of gas, and the tires are burned out, and the whole thing turns into a wreck, you do the maintenance, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, so that you don't get up in a situation like this. But that's not you, Pisces, that's another. But you might be in a relationship, Pisces, with a significant other who has perhaps neglected some of their own maintenance on themselves, which has led to this situation of the tower for themselves, where things appear to be crashing down. Literally just like someone who has just neglected the maintenance on themselves. Self-maintenance, self-love. So you might be dealing, Pisces, with someone who is lacking in self-love in some way, which would make you feel, you would, as a Piscean, you would probably feel that very, very strongly, but you might feel perhaps a little powerless about what to do or how to deal with this situation, because it's quite extreme for the significant other over here. Okay, so there is a lot of love here over, with you, Pisces, but it's a very different energy happening over here with a significant other. So let's have a look at the nature of the relationship itself. So Pisces, with the Two of Wands here, it might be that the nature of the relationship is that things are taking on a brand new direction. And this is your reading for you, Pisces. It's not a couple's reading. It's not like you and the others over there. And here's Tarot Illumination here. No, this is just you, Pisces, over there, considering your whole relationship dynamic. And so you might be feeling that the relationship is starting to take on a life in a direction of its own, or you might like the relationship to start and have a direction of its own, and get out of this. You might have been in a long-term deep rut where things have just kind of ground to a halt, and it is time to reconsider, change, and move on and make new decisions about what are we going to do, where are we going to do it, how are we going to do this, are we going to do this together, or has the other party completely splintered themselves off and had a kind of a complete breakdown in some way or another? We don't know that. Only you can understand that, Pisces. I hope you can, reinterpret this as you go along, so that it sort of, works for you in your situation. I don't want to be all alarmist or anything, but a lot of people get alarmed when the tower shows up. So I don't want to deny that, but I don't want to deny you the opportunity for possible healing. In other words, perhaps radical changes in the relationship that could be for the good for the long term, where something that seems very challenging with a significant other over here can actually turn out to be something good in the longer term, so long as you actually deal with it. In other words, it's almost like, hey honey, it's about time we sorted this stuff out, because you've been burying this for so long. It's time to sort it out. Let's take this time through November to rise into our higher consciousness about what we're going to do about this, and let the whole, the opportunity for healing to occur. That Jupiter and Scorpio energy is very, very strong right now. It's very supportive for you, Pisces. So it might be an idea to take full advantage of it. Let's have a look. Where does this take us? Well, take you, Pisces. Okay. See, Nine of Pentacles here. So it could bring you this kind of stark awareness, this kind of stark experience that's happening over here with a significant other for you, Pisces, could put you in a very different frame of mind, in a very different perspective by the end of November and going into December, where there's going to be a lot of big changes going on anyway. So with this, you could almost say wait a minute, maybe I should move on and just create my own independence here. This is no longer viable. This is no longer acceptable. You might be, Pisces, relating with someone who is just no longer acceptable for you in a significant relationship, and you might be considering moving on and going through a time period of significant independence, understanding that you have great wealth, you have great assets and values and resources that you can carry with you. And maybe it's important to salvage this and move on. Also, of course, it could indicate here that the relationship is still intact, but it means having to completely reconfigure everything and start from scratch again so that you can create a much healthier relationship where there isn't too much like misunderstanding about the dynamics and energies that occur inside relationships, where it's time to become much more clearly defined, where you Pisces say enough. I need to be my integral loving self. And you, significant other, you need to get your stuff together. I know it's been really choppy and bumpy for you, and we can deal with this, but we need to get this sorted out so that you, other person, can recalibrate yourself, get started again, and we can start from scratch again, where next time around, like the next season, maybe December, January, February, 2018 or whatever, there's much higher degree of individuality and less mushing of borders and boundaries between self and other words. In other words, you might learn a lot through this period here, Pisces, where it's very, very important for you to be you and for them to rise up and be themselves and then conduct through the relationship so that the relationship has a newfound abundance where it feels like independent, like you can be you, they can be them, but that makes you more valuable to each other and has a much more long-term stable type of relationship dynamic. So I hope that makes sense to you, Pisces. I hope you get something out of that. And if you want to, I mean, you can reinterpret. I think I already said it already about the whole idea of like, well, maybe you can just become independent and make a decision to move on to be independent so you don't have to deal with this. Some people do that. Sometimes it's better to just, have a reality check. There's a lot of pentacles here, and you need to be you. You need to protect yourself, your identity, who you are, and maybe learn from this if it is a little bit tragic. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, Pisces, I hope you get something out of it. I hope you can reinterpret to suit yourself so that it works for you. Tell your own story, craft your own reinterpretation. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising. That helps. That'll really, fill out the story a little bit better. And understand that this too shall pass, okay, for yourself and for the significant other. So I want to wish you all the best. I'm going to leave this, where should I put this? I'll put this over here. I want to wish you all the best in November. Thank you very much for coming to Tarot Illumination. Bye-bye.